considered. The Secretary of the Air Force telling Congress the process is already underway.
The Secretary of Defense has directed the Air Force to basically start planning to modify the aircraft.
That process could take months or even years. As ABC News first reported, Attorney General Pam Bondi signed off on a plan for the Air Force to accept the plane as a gift and then transfer ownership to Trump's Presidential Library Foundation shortly before he leaves office. It's unclear if that's part of the final agreement. The Pentagon referred questions to the Air Force saying, quote, details related to the contract are classified. The president was in Qatar just last week, where he heaped praise on its leader.
This is an outstanding man. He's a great man, and we're going to help each other.
He has rejected questions about whether this is legal and ethical and why the United States needs to accept this new Air Force One as a gift from another country.
I would never be one to turn down that kind of an offer. I mean, I could be a stupid person and say, no, we don't want a free, very expensive airplane.
And late today, outrage from the Senate Democratic leader, Chuck Schumer.
This gift screams national security risk. It is bribery in broad daylight. Donald Trump is thumbing his nose at Republicans and practically daring them to stop him.
Some of the president's Republican allies have also raised concerns that made it clear they don't like accepting this gift either. As for that question about the president's library, I just spoke to the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, who told me the plane is still intended to go to the library, but the details about how it will be transferred and when have not yet been ironed out. And David, we believe this plane is already here in the United States.
The gift is already here. I believe that John Carl leading us off here tonight in New York. John, thank you. In the meantime, we turn to the dramatic scene in the Oval Office today. The tense confrontation, President Trump ambushing the president of South Africa. The president of South Africa there to talk trade and to try to reset relations between the U.S. and South Africa. President Trump at one point calling for the lights to be dimmed and playing a video, and then showing a stack of papers that he said were articles proving a white genocide. The president of South Africa denying the unsubstantiated claims, at one point saying to President Trump, I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you. Here's Mary Bruce.
Tonight, an extraordinary scene in the Oval Office. President Trump ambushing the president of South Africa with false claims the nation is engaged in genocide against white farmers. President Cyril Ramaphosa said he came to the White House to discuss trade.
We are essentially here to reset the relationship between the United States and South Africa.
But Trump had other ideas.
A lot of people are very concerned with regard to South Africa, and that's really the purpose of the meeting.
The president insists white South African farmers are being persecuted and murdered on a mass scale. Unproven claims that have been amplified by Elon Musk, a native of South Africa. Though Trump's administration has banned all refugees, they are now making an exception for one group, white South Africans. A plane load arriving in the U.S. just last week.
We have had a tremendous number of people, especially since they've seen this. Generally, they're white farmers, and they're fleeing South Africa.
Reporters asking Trump what it will take to convince him there is no genocide. The South African president jumping in.
What would it take for you to be convinced that there's no white genocide in South Africa?
Well, I can answer that for the president. It will take President Trump listening to the voices of South Africans, some of whom are his good friends.
But Trump, with the cameras rolling,
Turn the lights down.
dimming the lights to present what he claims is evidence. Showing clips of extremists calling for violence, then leafing through articles he says prove it's happening.
Death. 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 Horrible death. Death. I don't know. Pick anyone. White South Africans are fleeing because of the violence and racist laws.
There is a crime problem in South Africa, but there is no evidence it is racially motivated or amounts to genocide. White people make up only 7% of the country, but own the vast majority of its farmland. Ramaphosa adamant that the video does not represent his government.
There is criminality in our country. People who do get killed, unfortunately through criminal activity, are not only white people. Majority of them are black people.
South Africa's president then joking that he wishes he could be like Qatar and gift Trump a luxury jet.
I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you.
I wish you did. I would take it.
And tonight, the spokesman for the South African president telling us of the confrontation, quote, "It was expected. We knew that whenever heads of state come to the White House, you get a bit of a show." And again, David, he insisted there is no genocide in South Africa. David.
Mary Bruce at the White House. Mary, thanks again. Now to the storm set to hit the northeast, then the nor'easter building right behind it. Washington, D.C., right up through New York City to Boston, bracing for these storms, just as millions, of course, travel for the Memorial Day holiday. So let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg of our New York station, WABC, here in New York, tracking it all for us tonight. Hi, Lee.
Hey, David, a nor'easter hitting on a huge travel day. It already feels like March here in New York City. We're tracking heavy rain coming out of Pennsylvania. The tornado watch in Pittsburgh expired, but there's still a flash flood warning after over 2 inches of rain. That band of rain moves to D.C., Philly, New York City during the overnight. It promises a really wet morning commute along the I-95 corridor. Then the nor'easter starts to intensify, and New England takes the brunt later in the day. Heavy rain, maybe some wind gusts to 50 miles an hour, some coastal flooding. The storm is very slow to depart on Friday, even some mountain snows in northern New England, and lingering showers right back down to Boston, even New York. It's going to keep the cool temperatures right in through the holiday weekend. David?
All right, Lee Goldberg with us tonight. Lee, thanks as always. We turn now to that massive jailbreak in Louisiana. Tonight, 2 women are under arrest now, accused of helping the fugitives who escaped. What police say the women did to help them avoid capture. Faith Abube from New Orleans.
Tonight, 2 women arrested and charged for allegedly helping multiple fugitive inmates evade capture after that stunning jailbreak in New Orleans.
We have said this from Friday and will continue to say it over and over again. If you help them, you will be prosecuted.
Police say Courtney Harris was in contact with 1 inmate before that escape early Friday morning. Harris accused of transporting 2 escapees to multiple locations. And Corvante Baptiste accused of getting 19-year-old Corey Boyd food while he was hiding. Overnight, authorities arresting Boyd at his grandmother's house. So far, only 5 of the 10 fugitives have been recaptured. And tonight, an alleged victim opening up about the moment he learned that the suspect in this case had escaped, asking ABC to only use his voice for safety reasons.
I was thinking about getting out of town because this guy could come back and look for my address and come in and shoot me, on the couch.
4 jail workers have been suspended, and the jail plumber, Sterling Williams, is now behind bars, accused of helping the inmates carry out the largest jailbreak in Louisiana history.
And David, just moments ago, Sterling's attorney denying that his client helped those inmates, telling us that the deputy in the cell asked him to shut off the water to that cell, eventually used as the escape route, and he was just doing his job. David.
Faith Abube on this story again tonight. Faith, thank you. Tonight, President Trump and House Speaker Mike Johnson mounting a pressure campaign to try to get the president's tax cut and spending bill passed. Some Republican holdouts remain concerned over projections that President Trump's bill could add trillions to the deficit over the next decade. ABC's Jay O'Brien on the Hill again tonight.
Tonight, a last-ditch effort from President Trump and Speaker Mike Johnson, turning up the heat on more than a dozen House Republican holdouts to pass the mega bill full of the president's campaign promises, from tax cuts to border security. The White House warning tonight failure to pass the bill would be a betrayal.
Why aren't the holdouts listening to you and the president?
They are. There's a lot of listening and a lot of discussion. It's been very productive.
Officially called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, the package extends Trump's 2017 tax cuts, lifts federal income tax on tips and overtime, and earmarks nearly $50 billion to resume construction of the border wall. It slashes federal spending by more than $1.5 trillion, including cuts to food assistance and Medicaid, which could leave more than 8 million Americans without health insurance over a decade. But GOP hardliners pushing for even steeper cuts, angered the bill would add trillions to the deficit over the next 10 years.
The president wants this passed now.
Well, it's not done yet.
And Speaker Johnson signaling he's moving ahead with a full House vote as soon as tonight or tomorrow morning. He can only afford to lose 3 Republicans. David.
And you'll be tracking it for us, Jay O'Brien tonight. Jay, thank you. That budget uncertainty Jay reports on adding to investor concerns today on Wall Street. The Dow falling nearly 817 points, down almost 2%. Those projected budget deficits on Capitol Hill leading to a spike in bond yields, also fueling concerns. Tonight, a federal judge finding the Trump administration, quote, unquestionably violated his court order by suddenly deporting 8 migrants to a third country, possibly somewhere in Africa, possibly South Sudan. DHS acknowledged putting the 8 migrants on a plane, but have refused to reveal where they would end up. Judge Brian Murphy finding the men were given little more than 24 hours notice, which he determined was undeniably insufficient under his earlier due process ruling. He did not issue an order to return the deportees, but said he would require the administration to, quote, remedy this violation. Tonight, the Department of Justice moving to end federal oversight of the Minneapolis and Louisville police departments. It comes nearly 5 years now after the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor sparked nationwide protests and calls for police reform. Both cities reached agreements to implement changes. When we come back here tonight, the disturbing images. This evening, authorities seizing more than 300 animals from a park safari right here in the U.S. Also tonight, the measles scare following a major sold-out concert right outside New York City, what authorities are now saying. And tonight, the real estate battle now brewing over Pope Leo's childhood home right here outside Chicago, this picture. Will it be saved for people to visit, or will it now go to the highest bidder? More in a moment.
Every day, the Fed prints an average of $465 million. That's 26,000 shipping containers a year, created out of thin air. Maybe that's why the dollar loses value over time. But there's one thing they can never print more of: Bitcoin. At the size of a quarter, this is all there will ever be. Shouldn't the store of value hold its value?
Hey TikTok, it's Alan Walker, and if you want to get this or this, search Alan Walker on TikTok and tap the banner right now.